So today is July 1st of 2023, exactly 1 week after the remains of Julian Sands was found on June 24th of 23. His remains were found accidentally by a group of hikers. We are not even clear about the hikers. We have been told that it was a group of hikers, it was 2 hikers, it was tourists, that it was a church group, that it was a family group. These things, we have no idea, we have no clarification. We also know that on June 17th of 23, a large group was put together consisting of 80 people, 2 helicopters, and some drones. Those people also searched the same area, but they found no human remains. So from the 17th of June until the 23rd of June, there was no remains, and there was no other searches conducted. On the 24th, that is when the hikers accidentally found them. They were then transported to the local coroner, who within less than a day, I would say maybe 8, 9, 10 hours, he was able to identify this body, which we are still trying to figure out because he didn't do a forensic DNA test. He said that he was able to identify him from the phone and the wallet and his ID, which we had all heard that there was none. He also said that he was able to make that positive ID because of the color and the clothing he was wearing. Well, we had heard that nobody knew what Mr. Sands had been wearing on that day. Then we started noticing what we call clickbait photos, which is very cruel, and it's showing these pictures of what is supposed to be Julian Sands laying in snow, covered up with snow, being air vacuumed out, laying on a flat rocky surface. They even went as far as to use the photo from the Arizona hiker who had fallen to his death. That was beyond cruel. We have also heard from other hikers and stuff that Mr. Sands was not properly dressed for that type of hike, but it was just his normal day hike. We were told that there were whiteout conditions, and immediately within minutes an avalanche hit the top of the summit there at Mount Baldy. Well, so far we've not been able to confirm that either. We are having a very hard time trusting the authorities and what people say because the stories are all twisted. I have been doing my readings since I found out, and my readings have always stayed the same. They've never changed, they've never faltered. So, unfortunately, we're not quite sure what is going on. They said it would take about a week before we would have anything on the cause of death and whatever other tests they were going to run. So we're going to give it another few days to see what happens. In the meantime, we will be preparing for another reading just to see exactly what could or might be going on, or if our answers are still staying consecutive to all the other readings that we have done. We don't hear from family members. We don't hear from the authorities. We've seen a few statements from friends. We've seen some statements from a family member, but it was the same statement that he put out 5 months ago. We have noticed that the news never changes, only the dates do, or how many hours. We, the people, his fans, the people who watch his movies, who are hurting inside, we would like to know the absolute truth as to what happened to this man. Are those really his remains? Is there some kind of cover-up to where he might be hiding? Is he afraid? These are things everybody is wanting to know. Everybody in this country and abroad are asking the same questions, and no answers are coming forth from authorities to let us know what happened to this dear man. It is absolutely ridiculous that you can't get a straight answer. We know exactly how many searches were done. Most of us have friends that live in the California area who are having a time, believing what they saw about the weather reports. Yes, we know that, a freak storm did hit that area, and some people got snowed in, and, there was an abundance of snow on the mountain. That is normal. I mean, people who have the ski lodges and the restaurants and all of that, they're making money from this. So for them, that's a blessing. But it seems weird that nobody saw Mr. Sands go up any of the trails. Nobody saw him at the summit. Nobody saw him leave. Nobody seems to know what happened to this man in any shape, form, or fashion. And it is very strange that you would have all these people up there. I forget how many people went up a day before and days after that were rescued. Some, unfortunately, the demise that they ended up was not very pleasant. But most of them were recovered with maybe a broken leg, scratches, bruises, and stuff, but yet nobody, and I mean nobody, saw or knew anything about Julian Sands being up there. Now, this is a man who did this quite regularly. He missed his premiere of his movie, The Ghosts of Monday. From what I understand, he never misses stuff like that. Was Mr. Sands murdered? Was he possibly kidnapped? Are the remains actually his? Is somebody covering up something that they don't want us to know? So we're giving you a little heads up that should we not hear anything by the 3rd or the 4th of this month, we will be doing another reading to see if any of our answers to questions have faltered in any way from the last 11 videos on his pendulum readings. We want to see if it stays consecutive. And for a pendulum to stay consecutive that many times in a row and never falter on the answer, it doesn't hesitate. It kind of leads us to believe that there might be more going on than anybody knows, the authorities, the family, or anything. And it might warrant possibly a more in-depth investigation as to what actually was going on at that time in his life, since nobody seems to know. And we request that should something not come up that looks right, don't hesitate. Just speak out, people. If you feel something is wrong, say it, because we're not going to get to the truth unless we all speak out. So until then, we will keep watching the news. We will keep trying to find any little tad bit of information that might help us figure out what is going on. Hopefully the authorities will do a full forensic DNA investigation and a cause of death so that we know. But until then, people like me, we have our doubts. There's too many people who truly have their doubts as to whether those remains that were found were Actor Julian Sands, or if those remains were planted there and, a cover-up is what they call it. I wouldn't even know what to call it. But if those weren't his remains and you're saying that they are, that's not very nice. That's known as lying. That's something I don't believe in. So anyway, like I said, we're going to give it a few more days. If we don't see anything or hear anything, I will be doing another reading to see if I'm getting accurate answers. As for the emotional part, I have no emotions left. Everything has been drained out of me, and this reading will be quite interesting. With that, I say have a blessed night, have a blessed holiday, and we will meet again and talk.